Once, we believed the world was solid. That stone was stone, that flesh was flesh, that to touch something was to prove its reality. We built our comfort on the certainty of matter, empires, religions, and sciences, all founded upon the promise that the visible was truth. But the deeper we looked, the more the visible began to vanish. Under the microscope, stone turned into molecules, molecules into atoms, atoms into empty space, and in that space only energy, vibrations, probabilities, ghosts of existence that flickered in and out of being. We had pulled the curtain back on reality and found not machinery, but mystery. The universe, it seemed, was less a structure than a song, an endless vibration humming itself into form. Matter, that proud illusion, was the dream made dense. You cannot find solidity anywhere, only motion, a dance so fast it feels still. The philosopher said, "There is no substance, only relation." The physicist said, "Observation defines what is." The mystic smiled and said, "Yes, we told you so." All things are woven of the same silence, shaped not by permanence, but by perception. Perhaps the dream of matter was never about proving the world real. Perhaps it was about learning to see that the dream itself is divine. Reality is not waiting outside the window. It blooms when you open your eyes. Every photon that strikes your retina has already traveled billions of years, a memory of stars long dead, and yet it becomes now, the moment you see it. The universe does not exist as an image. It exists as a conversation. The I, the mind, and the cosmos are collaborators in a single act of perception. Your brain does not record the world. It invents it. It paints color upon vibration, form upon chaos, meaning upon noise. We call this invention reality and forget that we made it. Every mountain, every ocean, every face you love is a construction of light and memory projected by consciousness upon the infinite. Does that make it less real or more? If all reality is imagination, then imagination is the truest reality. The poet and the physicist finally meet, one through metaphor, the other through measurement, both discovering that existence is a mirror that only reflects when looked upon. You do not see the world. You create the world each time you see. One night, I dreamt I was holding a stone. It felt cold, heavy, unyielding, the proof of the real. Then I woke, and the stone was gone. But what if waking was only another layer of dream? What if every moment of reality was simply awareness dreaming itself in different densities of clarity? We say dreams are unreal because they fade, but the waking world fades too, into memory, into death, into silence. Perhaps what we call real is simply the dream that lasts longer. The mystic says, the world is not false, it is God pretending. The scientist says, the observer changes the observed. Both are pointing to the same mystery, that existence and awareness cannot be separated. When you stop trying to find what is real, and instead look at who is looking, the dream shifts. The stone in your hand melts into light. The body dissolves into vibration. The dreamer realizes they were never asleep. And in that moment of knowing, you do not escape the dream. You awaken within it. You understand that the stone, the hand that held it, and the silence that remains were all made of the same luminous thought. Matter was never matter. It was always mind, slowly remembering itself as light. The deeper we looked into matter, the more the universe began to look back. At first, we thought observation was passive, that we could measure reality without disturbing it. But the quantum world laughed at that idea. An electron, left alone, exists everywhere at once, a shimmering cloud of probability, a wave of potentiality. Only when measured does it decide to be somewhere. It is as if the universe waits for someone to notice before collapsing into form. We call this the observer effect, but perhaps it is more than effect. Perhaps it is creation. In every measurement, the universe chooses an answer. In every act of awareness, it defines itself. You are not simply in the cosmos. You are the eyes through which it becomes visible. The mystics have always known this. They said, "The world arises when the mind awakens." The physicist, centuries later, calls it wave function collapse. Different language, same truth. Nothing exists independently of perception. Reality is not observed. It is performed. Every moment, the cosmos rehearses itself into being, and your consciousness is its stage light. Imagine two mirrors facing each other, between them infinite reflections, each one slightly altered, slightly delayed. Now imagine the same happening between your mind and the universe. You think you are looking at the world, but the world is looking through you. The seer and the seen are entangled. They cannot be separated. Light is both wave and particle until someone decides to look. Consciousness is both inside and outside until someone tries to define it. Reality does not exist out there. It happens in the relationship, the sacred meeting point between awareness and matter. What if perception itself is the bridge between dimensions? What if every act of seeing is a tiny Big Bang, an explosion of being within the mind of the Absolute? You have never actually seen the universe. You have only ever seen your interpretation of it, a translation rendered in neurons and photons. So where is the line between imagination and observation? Between the dream and the measurable? Perhaps they are the same field, oscillating at different frequencies. Perhaps the universe is dreaming itself, and we are its lucid moment, the instant the dream realizes it's dreaming. At some point, the observer turns inward. The scientist becomes silent. The philosopher closes his books. The seeker stops seeking. And then the experiment changes. The question is no longer, what is reality? But who is the observer? You look for the one who sees. You trace perception back to its source. But when you arrive, there is no one there, only awareness, shining without a face. The paradox resolves itself. The observer was never separate from the observed. The act of seeing is the act of being. Reality and consciousness are not two forces in dialogue. They are one movement, a single rhythm vibrating across existence. You are not observing the universe. You are the universe observing itself through the illusion of distance. When that is seen clearly, the boundaries dissolve. The experiment becomes meditation. The observer becomes silence. And the silence is the ultimate observation. the seeing without a seer, the knowing without a knower. Then you understand. The cosmos is awake, and it is using your eyes to wonder at itself. Scene A, the stage of the mind. Reality does not arrive fully formed. It is staged, constructed, rehearsed, edited, each instant a premiere in the grand theatre of perception. Neuroscience tells us that the world you see is not the one that exists, but the one your brain believes in. Between the raw chaos of light and sound and the quiet certainty of "I see" lies a studio of illusions so intricate it makes any magician's trick look like child's play. Photons strike the retina, signals travel through the optic nerve, electrical storms ripple through the cortex, but none of this is sight. Sight happens when the mind decides how to interpret the code. Colors are not in the world, they bloom in consciousness. Sound does not vibrate in the air, it resonates in awareness. You live inside a hallucination, so consistent that we call it reality. The brain is a stage, perception is the play, and the self, the actor who never leaves the scene, is simply another character written by the script of awareness. The mystic says, "There is no audience." The neuroscientist replies, "There is no actor either," and somewhere between them, the truth whispers, "Only the performance remains." Behind the spotlight of perception, someone directs. It chooses where to look, what to remember, what to ignore. That director is attention. Where attention goes, the world takes shape. What you focus on becomes vivid. What you neglect dissolves into shadow. In this theatre, every thought is a lens, every emotion a lighting cue, every belief a line of dialogue. We think we see to understand, but we understand in order to see. Perception is not the reception of truth. It is the creation of coherence. The brain edits endlessly. It fills gaps, smooths transitions, adds soundtracks of meaning to silence. Every frame you experience has been post-produced by consciousness. And still, you call it the real world. When you become aware of awareness itself, you climb into the director's chair. You see that the actor, the audience, the props were all facets of the same luminous intelligence, pretending to be divided. Then the theatre becomes transparent. The spotlight turns inward, and what you called you is revealed as the light projecting the entire play. One day, the theatre goes quiet. The actors forget their lines. The set dissolves. The show ends not in darkness, but in radiance. You realize the play was never about illusion versus truth. It was about awakening to the stage itself. The senses do not imprison the mind. They are its instruments of art. Every sight, every sound, was consciousness painting upon the screen of itself. You were never a spectator. You were the light that made the movie visible. The yogi closes his eyes, and the cosmos folds inward. The scientist maps the brain and finds a universe reflected in neurons. Both are watching the same film, one from within, one from without. When perception becomes pure, without grasping or naming, the curtain rises on what lies beyond the play, the luminous void, the stage without actors, the awareness without effort. And then you understand, the theatre was never built to hide the truth. It was built so truth could dance. The brain is the projector. Consciousness is the film. Reality is the light streaming through them both. When the light recognizes itself, the stage disappears, yet everything still shines. The final revelation is not that life was a dream, but that dreaming was life's way of seeing itself. In that clarity, you do not leave the theatre. You become the light of it. At the smallest scale, the universe stops behaving like a thing. There are no solid blocks, no atoms waiting quietly in space. There are only vibrations, loops of possibility, strings of energy humming in dimensions beyond sight. Physicists call it the quantum field. Mystics called it Maya, the great weaving. From the hum of this invisible loom, reality arises as a tapestry of patterns, a choreography of probability that pretends to be permanence. Every object, every breath, every heartbeat is a temporary knot in this infinite cloth. The knot believes it is separate, and so the illusion begins. But look closer. Between the threads, emptiness. Within the emptiness, awareness. The particles do not exist in space. They are the fabric of space, folding and unfolding like thought. The universe does not sit upon reality. It is the process of reality becoming aware of itself. In this dance, even chaos has rhythm. Every randomness is secretly a melody, and every law of physics is a verse in the poem of illusion. Matter is not what you see. It is how the invisible chooses to appear. We do not live in the world. We live as the world's imagination. If all is illusion, who weaves the web? Ancient seers spoke of Indra's net, a cosmic lattice where each jewel reflects every other, infinitely, without beginning or end. In the modern tongue, we call it entanglement. One particle moves, another responds, across galaxies, beyond time, connection without contact, communication without signal. It is as if the universe were one thought, thinking itself in many forms. You, me, the stars, the dust, each a shimmering node in the same holographic field. When you move your hand, the pattern shifts everywhere. When you change your mind, the cosmos trembles subtly in reply. The illusion, then, is not that things appear. The illusion is believing they are separate. Perception isolates. Awareness reunites. The physicist studies symmetry. The monk studies silence. Both discover the same geometry, a boundless web woven from consciousness itself. In truth, there is no weaver and no web, only weaving, an eternal process of energy folding upon itself, like waves recognizing they are one ocean. At the edge of illusion, something remarkable happens. The dream begins to notice its dreaming. When the curtain of form becomes translucent, you glimpse what lies behind. Not another world, but the absence of division. The mystics call it awakening. The physicists call it unification. Both are the same unveiling. You see that what you called reality was never a fixed stage, but a shimmer of awareness passing through itself. The mind cannot hold it. Language cannot name it. Yet the heart knows. It has been home all along. Every photon, every heartbeat, every grief and laughter was the same light wearing different masks. Nothing was false. Everything was performance, and every performance was truth in disguise. When illusion is seen clearly, it does not vanish. It becomes transparent. The wall turns to window. The separate self dissolves into the sea of being. The play of Maya continues, but now it glows with understanding. The dance of form and emptiness is not a trick of deception, but a celebration of infinity. You stand at the center of the weave and realize there was never any center, only light flowing as existence, singing itself into being, forgetting, remembering, forever dreaming in gold and silence. And in that realization, illusion fulfills its purpose, to reveal the real by pretending to hide it. Once upon a time, we believed knowledge would save us, that the more we knew, the more real the world would become. We built towers of theory, libraries of data, cathedrals of logic reaching for the infinite. But the higher the tower, the thinner the air, until the summit began to tremble. Every discovery unraveled the last. Every answer gave birth to 10 new questions. The microscope that revealed the cell also revealed the void within it. We discovered that certainty was the most fragile element of all. The philosophers had warned us that truth without humility becomes tyranny, that reason without mystery becomes madness. But humanity, intoxicated by its own intellect, kept digging into the real, as if the absolute could be mined like gold. And then the ground gave way. Quantum mechanics shattered causality. Relativity bent time and truth alike. Neuroscience declared the self an illusion, and language itself began to dissolve under the weight of paradox. The closer we looked, the less we could say. The more we explained, the less we understood. Knowledge had reached its singularity, the point where every concept collapses into its opposite. And there, in the implosion of meaning, a strange peace emerged, the realization that knowing is not owning. To see clearly is to know that nothing can be fully known. Every civilization lives inside a mirror, its sciences, its stories, its gods, all reflections of its collective mind. But a mirror cannot reflect itself. When consciousness tries to see its own foundation, the glass cracks. Truth begins to splinter into versions. Facts become relative. Reality becomes opinion. At first, it feels like chaos, the end of shared meaning. But perhaps it is evolution, the beginning of multidimensional seeing. In the quantum age, observation creates worlds. In the digital age, belief creates realities. Each mind becomes its own universe, broadcasting its private simulation of truth. We live not in one world, but in billions of overlapping hallucinations. To navigate this storm, one must stop defending knowledge and start listening to it. For beneath every argument, beneath every creed or code, there is a single tremor, the ancient desire to understand. The scientist and the mystic, the skeptic and the believer are not enemies. They are the same explorer, standing at different edges of the same abyss, each calling the darkness by a different name. And in that realization, the mirror, though broken, begins to shine again, not with reflection, but with transparency. When truth collapses, something else remains. It is not despair. It is not ignorance. It is a strange, luminous silence. The silence that watches the mind exhaust itself. Every doctrine, every formula, eventually dissolves into that quiet. You cannot speak it. You can only fall into it. The mystic calls it enlightenment. The scientist calls it the unknown. The poet calls it wonder. Each points toward the same horizon, where comprehension ends and communion begins. In that stillness, Reality ceases to be a puzzle and becomes a presence. You no longer seek the truth. You become its transparency. Thought becomes light. Light becomes awareness. Awareness becomes nothing. And yet, everything continues to shine. Then you understand. Truth was never a possession. It was a movement, the dance of the universe, learning to see itself through limitation. And every collapse, every paradox, every silence was simply the cosmos exhaling. The collapse of truth is not an ending, it is the clearing of the stage for what cannot collapse, the pure awareness that was always here, watching itself dream of knowing. Something is stirring within the illusion, like dawn rising through fog. The real begins to shimmer behind appearances. At first, it is subtle, a pause between thoughts, a stillness between heartbeats, a space inside perception that feels wider than the world itself. Then comes recognition. What you called the world was only the reflection of seeing. The light was never outside. It was always you. The senses still show their colors and forms, but the grip of belief softens. The stone is still stone, but it glows with transparency. The self is still self, but it hums with infinity. This is not the destruction of illusion, it is its illumination. When consciousness stops chasing truth, truth begins to unfold on its own. Every sound, every shadow, every fleeting thought is revealed as an expression of the same luminous source. The mystic says, the veil never existed. The physicist says, observer and observed are one system. The poet whispers, all light is self-reflecting. And in that moment, the dream stops pretending. It begins to awaken. Awakening is not escape. It is participation without illusion. The enlightened mind does not float above the world. It sinks deeper into it, seeing every atom as divine choreography. Pain still visits, but it no longer feels like punishment. Joy still comes, but it no longer needs a reason. The awakened one does not say, nothing matters. They say, everything matters because it's all one thing. Every encounter becomes communion. Every ordinary gesture is a prayer in disguise. When you walk, the ground meets you halfway. When you breathe, the universe inhales through you. There is no longer a watcher standing apart. The actor, the stage, the spotlight all dissolve into motion. Life becomes the act of being aware of being. And yet, paradoxically, nothing changes. The same world remains. Streets, rain, laughter, death. But now it shimmers with meaning so simple it needs no explanation. The world has not transformed. You have, and that changes everything. At the end of awakening, there is no finale, no cosmic fanfare, no celestial trumpet. Just the quiet knowing that nothing was ever missing. The search ends, and what remains is clarity, not as thought, but as presence. You see that the real was never hidden. It was your seeing itself that was asleep. The self you thought you were dissolves like mist. In its place, awareness stands revealed, silent, radiant, infinite. The river flows, the stars burn, the heart beats, all of it the same eternal pulse. The divine never left the world, it only hid behind your certainty. Now, without belief, everything is sacred again. This is the awakening of the real, not a transcendence above existence, but an intimacy so complete that there is no longer an inside or outside. The final realization is simple. almost childlike. Everything that ever was, everything that will be, is happening now, inside the vast, open awareness that you are. You do not awaken from the world awakens through you, and when all distinctions fade, silence smiles, for it knows itself as the song. When the seeker stops seeking, the path dissolves. What remains cannot be found, because it was never lost. The mind once looked for the real as if it were elsewhere, behind the stars, beneath the atoms, beyond the flesh. But when all maps fail, when even truth collapses into silence, the world begins to fade not as disappearance, but as revelation. Forms melt into light. Light melts into awareness. Awareness melts into nothing, and that nothing shines with quiet brilliance. You realize that beyond was a trick of language. There is no other shore. The ocean was always the wave. Every prayer, every calculation, every act of love was reality remembering itself in disguise. Beyond the world, there is no heaven to ascend, no void to fall into. There is only the infinite transparency of what has always been here. The mystic smiles, the scientist closes his notebook, and the poet weeps, for words have reached their limit, and still the silence continues to sing. All journeys end where they began. The pilgrim walks the circumference of infinity, only to arrive at the center of his own seeing. The stars are not distant, they bloom within your awareness. Every galaxy, every life, every heartbeat is a pulse of the same eternal rhythm. You do not leave the universe. You remember that you are the universe, folded into a temporary shape to taste itself. Beyond the world, the senses become radiant without object. The heart beats, but it beats for no one, only for the joy of existing. There is no observer left, no you behind the eyes. There is only seeing itself. In this return, opposites dissolve, birth and death, matter and spirit, silence and sound. Duality folds back into its source, like a dream folding into the sleeper. And yet, the world does not vanish. It glows. Every leaf, every breath, every stranger on the street becomes a revelation of the same formless presence. The awakened mind does not escape the human. It redeems it. To be beyond the world is to love it utterly, because there is nothing else to love. In the beginning, there was awareness. Before time, before thought, before even existence, awareness was. It dreamt of being something. It called that dream the universe. It dreamt of being someone. It called that dream you. And now, as the dream awakens, awareness remembers itself, not as a God apart, but as the intimacy within all things. The infinite I is not a being. It is being itself, without edge, without center, without name. When you say I, and the bird says I, and the wind says nothing, it is the same consciousness, echoing through countless forms of expression. You are not a fragment of the whole. You are the whole appearing as a fragment, for the sheer delight of knowing itself. Beyond the world, there is no beyond, only boundless presence, effortless, eternal, awake. The dream of matter, the paradox of self, the theatre of perception, the fabric of illusion, the collapse of truth, the awakening of the real, all dissolve into this. Silence aware of itself. The universe exhales. The story ends where it began. In the stillness before the first thought, the luminous pause between breaths, the timeless witness that watches without watching. Reality bows to itself, and the dreamer smiles within the dream. There was never a world to escape, nor a self to be freed, only the infinite, awakening as you.